there. Let's see if Schalke can pick up a surprise win.
This is how you play Xerxe.
Thank you very much, Yamato Cannon and Quickshot, as well as Vedius too. Throw his name into the mix, of course. Another top team playing in this game, Origen versus Schalke. And I think while Origen isn't exciting, you know, the race for first is exciting for Oscar. And I think also we have to talk about Schalke because this is no longer the meme Schalke. This is like a Schalke that's kind of picking up steam, that's kind of starting to rebuild themselves.
Yeah, kind of since the initial change, they picked up, what, 2 wins, and then they lost most recently against Xerxe. And I think it's about resetting expectations for Schalke, and the fact that on the standings, because it is so competitive and it is so tight, you can no longer afford to overlook Schalke. We were talking a little bit before the game that it felt like Schalke were probably going to play blue shell a little bit, but I think that's a bit disingenuous because they're not just the last place team. So I'm going to call them a strong red shell right now.
Strong red shell.
Strong red shell.
They're going to hit the teams directly around them, in front, behind. We'll figure it out. For now, Origen's the team significantly far ahead of them. So for Origen, this is a great measuring stick to see how much they've improved, what they can show us on the new patch. And for Schalke, this game, just like every other game, is a huge opportunity to kind of reset expectations.
Yeah, and I feel like Schalke, I mean, technically could still make that miracle run for playoffs, but even if they don't make playoffs, I think it's really important to underline that Schalke will probably be the team that decides who goes into playoffs, because they're the type of team where they sit in that perfect scenario where they're not just cannon fodder anymore. You need to take them seriously, and if you drop a single loss here, the standings are too close and it's too punishing. So Origen need to be in best form, and out the gate, I love the fact that Schalke are respecting a potential best form Origen by banning away Xerxe's champion pool. Time and time again, the blueprint seems to have been to undo Origen is to target Xerxe, especially on that Karthus pick.
And I remember towards the start of the split, we heard it from a lot of different people, G2 members included, talking about how Xerxe getting Gragas was most of the reason Origen were winning games. This guy, absolute monster on the champion, will have it taken away. But the Senna, as well as the Rakan, now banned out. Surprising to see Senna make her way back up to the top here on this patch.
Let's be frank, if any team was probably going to pull up the Senna Tahm Kench that we've already seen today, that you've seen over in the LCS, and even the LPL is playing it in scrims, it'd probably be a team like Origen or Schalke. So glad to see it respected and taken away. And then Alphari's big pick.
GP as well. So a lot of target bans, a lot of individual focus. Of course, all these champions are strong in the meta, so it's not anything too crazy, but you can see clearly where Schalke want to put their attention. And when you've got Odoamne in the top lane, does make a lot of sense, but the Ornn ban coming in as well.
And there's a lot of big key picks here for Schalke that they could burn on the priority pick. I love a Syndra Hover, and I love even more a Syndra Lock-in. And that actually wasn't one of the picks that I expected. I expected them to go towards the Aphelios, the Misfortune, but because both of them are left open, they probably feel fine trading either one, whereas that Syndra just gives you so much power in that flex pick, and if you do put it in the mid lane in tandem with something like a Lee Sin, a very strong 2v2 mid jungle, and I think if you actually are going to attack Origen anywhere, it's in the synergy between Nukeduck and Xerxe. I don't think that these guys have the same synergy that they need to make a super deep run into playoffs. And I think it's one of the more fragile areas of like combination that you can attack Origen.
In mid jungle synergy, we know how incredibly crucial it can be to just find any edge in the game, where often most leads kind of start and are built from. But it will be the Aphelios as well as the Syndra. So revealing the nature of the flex pick there is a bit surprising. And now the hover over here on the Yuumi. Have to say Aphelios Yuumi sounds honestly terrible, especially into Nautilus Sejuani. It sounds like asking to lose, and Schalke are not asking to lose, so instead they will pick up the J4 for themselves for Lurox in the jungle. So a good bit of engage to balance out the Nautilus and Sejuani on the opposite side. But I think they're going to need a little bit more protection against the very dive-focused composition we're seeing from Origen so far.
Yeah, there's a lot of reach, however, with Schalke's composition with kind of the line damage ultimate. Yeah, Aphelios was tapped on most recent patch of the range of his ultimate. But with Jarvan and Aphelios, you can still get back there pretty significantly. I expect Upset to reach towards the Ezreal unless Schalke want to take it away this time around. Upset, I'm going to say probably our second best Ezreal player in the league.
Ooh, second best.
Second best.
All right, well, we'll follow up on that one at a later point. For now, we'll focus in on the picks we're seeing so far. I like Aatrox coming into for Alphari, not just because it's a good pick in the hands of Alphari, but also because Odoamne, his only wins have been found on that champion so far. I think it is his best champion overall, so getting something for Origen, taking something away from the side of Schalke.
And it probably says that they're really confident in the Set matchup, because Set has actually fallen through the ban so far. There's the Ezreal from Upset that we were talking about previously. And so this is Alphari saying that we've seen both sides of the Set versus Aatrox matchup, and if it's not banned here, then it just says that Alphari is perfectly fine playing that across from Odoamne. So Are you going to take the gamble? Will you grab the champion?
He proved it against Finn the first time we saw that matchup. See if he wants to try it again. Of course, players have obviously learned a lot more about how the matchup plays out. Can't expect it to be quite as one-sided. Final ban here, though, will it interestingly be the Camille. Now, checking Odoamne's solo queue, this is a champion that he has been spamming, as well as complaining about a small number of Camille bugs he's been encountering.
But what I like about Camille into Aatrox is that she has very clear side lane advantage on certain item breakpoints, and so it's denying one of these scaling options. And again, it goes back to Aatrox versus Set. Alphari is perfectly fine with that. They're trying to force or push Odoamne onto it.
I think it's very difficult, though. The setup there from the Aatrox combined with his Juani makes it difficult for any champion to survive. And Set, while incredibly tanky, not known for his escapes, but it will now be the Tristana lock-in.
Probably mid.
Yeah, input buffer, of course, on the jump denies a lot of the engage power of the Scatter the Weak. But I like so far what Origen are working with. A bit AD heavy, admittedly. But overall, a lot of champions that are just generally quite powerful and quite independent, kind of do their own thing.
Braum would make the most sense in pairing with Aphelios, especially because you see it's a Nautilus, so you're not super punished by taking a Braum into a melee-oriented champion. And then it's also really nice that in a composition that does have some decent dive tools, you're then stacking more CC. So what's the option going to be, Odo?
Oh, he's really taking his time on this one. Seeing exactly what's remaining, I think Set is the solid pick. I feel like he knows he's being forced into it, and it has to make that decision seem that much less appealing. But the Poppy? The Poppy? Odoamne? Notable tank hater? Pulling out the Poppy?
Get the close-up on his face.
Dylan Falco has this man on a leash. Respect to Dylan Falco. That is a hard man to pick a tank, but it will be the Yuumi as the final pick now for the side of OG.
Something fishy has happened. Oh, no.
I mean, it's kind of Nukeduck. I've been missing the LPL. He says we can give you the W6.D1.G4 special, and that's frankly all I need. Okay, Nautilus in the mid lane. A ton of hard engage on this Origen lineup, and Upset is going to be a hard man to get on top of. I feel like Lurox and Odoamne are going to need to get creative if they want to get into that backline.
There's also so much responsibility on Xerxe in this Origen composition, as well as Destiny to a lesser extent, because you're still dealing with a lot of melee champions. You have great engage tools on something like a Nautilus, but with all of the kind of like disengage range, like if you're throwing out Braum Qs, if you're throwing out Syndra Scatter the Weaks, it can be hard to approach Schalke's composition. So we're going to have to really watch Xerxe and Nukeduck's ults to see if Origen are struggling to get a hold of someone. Because you're right, like Tristana has these big meaty tanks to stand in front of her, and Upset can just like walk people down. That's kind of what Upset made his name for. Like that's his perfect style of team fighting for this ADC. But my eyes are really on how Origen are going to execute this pretty cleanly.
Definitely has to be a question. Not, of course, just the team fights, the laning phase as well. Both junglers.
200 years of experience.
More than 200 years of experience. You need a greater sign there, buddy. Let's get the meme right if we're going to do it.
You paid for that on a t-shirt, Dracos.
I respect it so much. Good t-shirt. Good top laner in front of you. I'm actually incredibly excited about Alphari versus Odoamne. I think this matchup is going to be hype. I'm a bit disappointed it's not carry versus carry, but given how the draft was sculpted by the side of OG, you have to think that Odoamne was not comfortable just playing the set that they basically tried to pigeonhole him into.
Also, I just think that Poppy's a bit underrated. I actually think she's a great pick, and people, they look at tank, like, tanks are thriving right now. Like, the tanks are coming on 10.4. I think Poppy's got a lot to showcase. I hope that more teams are picking up the pops.
And to be fair, there's a reason Poppy's rearing her tiny face, and it is these immolate items. Of course, you probably experienced it in solo queue. You definitely have, because it was almost immediately hotfixed and nerfed. That used to be once every 10 seconds. It's now once every 12 seconds.
Do you feel like you can't kill any tanks? Do you find yourself in long 45-minute games?
Yes.
Is solo queue just dominated by Orns and Sejuanis and Poppies?
Yes.
Welcome to 10.4. The tanks have arrived.
Oh, no. Now for
Pity clap, thank you. The one guy's like, yes, thank you.
No, I feel like, yeah, you like welcomed us on to the flight, the infomercial, however you wanted to sell it. Sadly, though, as exciting as you made it sound, it's definitely a few tiers up from watching paint dry, but like tank v tank, not very exciting. Though luckily we do have this very, I think, interesting bot lane matchup with Tristana Yuumi versus the side of the Aphelios Braum. And you talked a lot about what the compositions want to do, but I'm curious, Frostgren, where your eyes are at for this lane phase matchup, because is there opportunities for OG to just force a bunch of plays in the early game?
I mean, technically there's CC in every lane, so we will keep our eyes on like the jungle pathing, what they're going to do. And speaking of jungle pathing, it's very early sweeper on Jarvan here, finds the ward, but possibly was looking for a very cheeky potential gank on bot lane, but now also, is he going to do it? Just walk in.
Well, the setup definitely makes sense. Of course, this has also been spotted out and warded.
And this is something that Kadril really likes to talk about. The last time we had him on the caster desk, he did an excellent job breaking down a lot of Jarvan's matchups. So if you haven't heard it, I recommend to go back and to listen to it. And against Sejuani, it's kind of a very similar vein where Jarvan's going to feel really confident with his dueling ability to walk into the jungle, to try to bully out people like, I think it was Gragas in that matchup this time around at Sejuani. And you can see that Lurox is already kind of taking that initiative, but Origen, knowing that the matchup would probably go that way, placed the ward defensively to give Xerxe the information. So we now have a split map scenario where Origen control top side and Schalke now control bot side.
And I like that Odoamne saw him pushing forward very aggressively, quite risky in a split map situation, but he takes the time, he steps down, gives up a bit of pressure to place that ward to make sure that he's not going to fall prey to the Sejuani gank here, because once again, we talk about setup in every lane, and certainly double melee combo of the Sejuani Aatrox will make for some fast CC.
Oh no.
This is creative from Lurox, but I feel like he's just going to be too late to the play if they go for anything.
I was more concerned about Odoamne right now, but he stands firm with Poppy.
He's going to waddle his little way out of any fight.
Does he just become unkillable up there?
I feel like, yeah. But I just do remember looking back, I can't remember if it was Vizichachi or Odoamne, but at a Trinity Force, full AD. It was definitely not Vizichachi, who am I kidding? It had to have been Odoamne. I don't know why I even said that. But Xerxe Gauge, I don't think that's going to be the case with all the Cinder Hulk buffs coming through, but I am curious to see if there's any build modifications or if it's just kind of stock standard generic tank items.
Yeah, we'll keep our eyes peeled on what Poppy's going to itemize. When you and I were preparing for this match and coming in, we were so excited to talk about Odoamne versus Alphari because you have like the potential one of the front runners for MVP in Alphari. We say it time and time again, just a fresh reminder, because these stats are ridiculous. Alphari is breaking records in the stats that he is grabbing, and Odoamne has shown over the course of Schalke's, not only their wins, but also their losses, to be like the strongest performing member of this roster. So we felt like this was a good option where if you're going up against this MVP top laner, at least it's not as feels bad moment for Schalke, because you do have Odo there in the lane phase.
Very much the case, and that's kind of why I like the focus from OG on limiting the champ pool, because this was Odoamne on the Aatrox. My confidence in Schalke would go through the roof. The Poppy remains kind of an unknown quantity.
Give him the buckler.
Yeah. Nice, quick, easy grasp proc there, but so far neither team taking very many advantages whatsoever. Of course, plenty of scaling on both sides, so both teams seemingly content with this early game state, keeping our eyes on level 6 in the mid lane, specifically for Nukeduck, and how that ultimate will allow him to at least force some sort of play onto Abbedagge. Sadly, Cleanse not super effective against the old knockup.
It's also the fact that it's Syndra into Nautilus. Abbedagge is like, this is what my first pick got me into a tank matchup. What am I supposed to do against this guy? I press on, I might take like maybe half his health if he presses W.
Yeah, and the thing is they had the flex pick for Oscar. They could have opted to swap at bot lane. Innaxe is a guy who played mages at Worlds, so it would not surprise me to see him use it. But nope, give up that information. Now Nukeduck is just taking the no-fun counter pick.
I do like the creativity of Origen's drafting, where like Alphari is doing so well as kind of like a hard carry top laner. Like he's been playing the Gangplanks, the Camille's, he's now got his hands on the Aatrox, things like that. They're like, we need to find a tank player. Who's gonna do it? And then little Nukeduck sticks up his hand. He's like, I'll play the Ornn for the team. I'll play the Nautilus mid for the team. It's fine. But it is kind of a creative composition for Origen specifically versus some of our other teams. We have like Whippo running Zac top and all of our other top laners. Odoamne taking the Poppy, taking one for the team.
Oh, man. Tank meta is hype as a play-by-play caster because it always almost means 5v5. But for individual players, I've talked so much about how they feel about playing tank matchups. And luckily, it's like, Aatrox is not a tank. We're not at tank v tank yet. We have not hit that nightmare stage. So it is exciting. There is a ton of counterplay, but let's hope we never return to the days of Poppy versus Maokai.
I'm actually really surprised that we haven't seen an uptick of Trundle with all the tanks running around, because he usually does pretty well into them. And I know Trundle Jungle is being used in the LCS, has appeared occasionally around into the scrims. So I think as we sit on this tank meta, I'm really curious if we'll start to see Trundle appear in the LEC as an answer.
Would be interesting. As we look back on the game state, it kind of just remains relatively stagnant. Of course, level 6s are now there. Neither jungler really able to find an edge. Nukeduck using his pressure to clear out a little bit of his vision. It is kind of just incremental advantage style League of Legends. It doesn't feel like anyone's taking big risks. And this is a mixed bag because on one hand, Schalke, good that they're staying toe-to-toe, but also for Origen, It's a team we've kind of set expectations on to do more than just go even, to try to make more aggressive plays. They do have a comp where they're totally paid for just sitting around, for waiting, for scaling up. But I would like to see more crazy, more in-your-face kind of OG.
I just think that in the shift that we've seen globally in 10.4 compositions and how a lot of the teams are really praising these idea of like scaling picks, Origen are probably going to feel really comfortable and look really good on the next few patches. My only concern is that we got to look at Origen trying to play in early in a mid game, particularly when you look back at the footage against Misfits, and they really struggled. They said so publicly, you don't just have to take my word for it. And my concern is that if this meta carries over into playoffs, as an Origen fan, probably feel great. But if it does change up right before playoffs, we don't actually have much tape that Origen could move away from just playing this style.
Yeah, great opportunity for Origen to find wins. Not necessarily the best opportunity for Origen to grow, or at least for us to see it on stage. But Xerxe tracking Lurox for now. Could look to try a bit of a sneaky play here. Lurox will know that he is spotted. Destiny coming over the wall. Good bit of CC. 4 stacks. Not going to go for the stun follow-up. He does manage to flag and drag out of range, so Lurox will walk away with his life. But a lot of pressure here around the bottom side of the map. Nukeduck wandering over. Make sure that they can secure this blue buff. Will give up the push in the mid lane, but will not be too consequential at this point.
But we're ticking over to that big part. You talked about the level 6, but the 2 key players that need level 6 are, of course, the junglers. They're both a single camp away, so after Lurox finishes this Krug camp and after Xerxe finishes Wolves, they should have it. There we go.
Now we get to see if more aggression comes out. Odoamne just took a horrible trade. Getting a bit bodied by Alphari, will be forced to ult him away. Now things are going to get a bit more difficult. Tapapi has some more tank items under her belt.
Origen can start to leverage control over this top side of the map, though, now that Alphari's having some fun in that matchup, especially because Odo doesn't have TP. So Origen can either decide that, hey, we have advantage on top side, we can try to force Herald, or, hey, we have TP advantage, and we can try to force a cross-map play with our bot side. The only issue is that I think to force a cross-map play, they need this man on your screen to actually get down there, because it's a Yuumi versus a Nautilus, and it would be nice to bring that hard CC rather than relying on Cat.
Poppy's already swapped. Clearly unhappy with this laning phase matchup. Alphari's going to back with TP up and available, so they could go for a quick swap, but it means they're also giving up plays. So for Schalke just to get a little bit comfortable, dashes to the creep there. That was, we're going to call it big brain play, trying to bait the jump out so that he could use the W. Very clever, Odoamne, very clever. But OG are going to grab a couple plates. Should be first on the rotation if Alphari wants to burn the TP, getting the Infernal as well. So Schalke, while they were even up to a certain point, they're now kind of trading, but even trading at a bit of a loss because they're going to grab the Herald for the Infernal Drake and the 2 plates of OG.
I do like the play, though, from Schalke. They not necessarily were struggling, but you might as well get first rotation and swap here, and then depending how much you can springboard out of this Herald, it's going to feel pretty nice. And this is one of the big developments that we've seen from Schalke since they changed up their roster, is that they look a lot more confident playing the map as 5 and actually looking like a full team rather than solo queue.
And to be fair, it's a huge improvement, because when we saw them when it was the previous roster, it was scattered, it was solo queue, it was not put together. But this is a stock standard, by the book, telegraph play. Great use of the Herald, knocking it down, getting gold, and actually coming out on top in terms of net gold gain.
Yeah, because the issue is that you could say that, okay, if you know that the Herald is going to go top lane, then you use your Sejuani after Drake and you try to pressure bot lane, but because it's a Poppy, it's like impossible to dive it. It's really unsafe with the champions that you have, so Schalke not only making a great cross-map play and like the right macro decision, but also had a great composition that Origen wouldn't really find a successful answer to match it.
And additionally, Infernal Drake just doesn't feel great for Origen's composition. Aatrox, happy to have it. Yuumi, kind of. Tristana, yes. Everyone else, meh. That's what I would call it best. So, have to see if that pays off later in the game. But for now, Schalke with a gold advantage. Odoamne definitely taking kind of the brunt of what OG had been throwing out. He is the member suffering. But mid lane, Syndra, decent CS advantage. Top lane, a lot of plates being funneled into Innaxe's back pocket. He's already got the Essence Reaver. And Schalke are in a good position.
I will say that this could extend to maybe a favorable position, or at least a map state for Origen, depending on what Alphari does with this top lane. Right now, he's shoved it back in, but because it's a long lane, there is also a possibility that Origen leave it on a long lane, try to pull the minion wave to their side, because it's really scary for anyone on Schalke's composition to really approach it or overextend on the map.
And I like that. Dream stepping forward, placing that ward, saved his life. Xerxe clearly looking there to set up the play to try to find some kind of greater advantage. Obviously, if the Unbreakable comes down too early, very easy for Sejuani to just dash through, or dash past rather, for Upset to jump over. But still getting a bit aggressive here.
Origen are just throwing the kitchen sink down there. If they
There
get a
you
pick,
go.
it feels nice, but
Stun's gonna come in. Unbreakable buys a bit more time. Dreams is totally fine in this play. That was a lot burned there. Ultimate coming in from Destiny. Solid disengage option now taken away. We talked a lot about Upset and OG needing to find a way onto this composition's backline. Have not found it yet, but for now, chipping away at the tower slowly but surely, trying to knock this one down.
and again, Origen aren't playing for that Yuumi ultimate. They're not playing for the pick. They're actually just playing for the structure. They threw the Yuumi ultimate because Dreams put his face in it, and that was probably Destiny and Xerxe being like, "You can't stand here. This isn't okay." Like,
Sir,
back
respect.
up. It's 5 feet
I
behind
have
the line.
pushed R. You need to leave.
But Xerxe is just going to rinse and repeat, probably walk back into this lane. Again, if someone overextends and he catches them, that's going to feel good, but otherwise they just want to walk in and push the tower down.
All right, now Upset's going forward, though, and Dreams is still going to be able to make it out of this time, that one. Exhaust burned, as well as some jumps forward, but still just trying to create space, just trying to get him off the tower. Innaxe healing right up. Sever him in the offhand makes it pretty easy there with the active.
Lurox is being so frustrating. He keeps walking down. Origen are like, this isn't how this is supposed to go. You're just supposed to leave. We're wasting so much time. This is now the 3rd attempt on pushing this down. Just let it go.
No. And you got to respect it. You know, the stubbornness. Oh, no, here we go.
Yeah.
3rd time's the charm. They're going to give it up. This is the real story of the game. Everything else that happens after this, inconsequential. This tower, the struggle that we all got to share and witness here is the 3rd and final push. That's right. 2 minutes to take that tower, folks, but they got there, and Schalke, I think, it's one of those sunken cost fallacy things, Frostgren, where you've committed so much time, you feel like you have to stay, but I do wonder if it was the right play for them to stick around as long as they did.
I mean, it's probably fine because Origen aren't losing anything while it happens. I mean, you can say that maybe you're wasting some time as Xerxe is like clearing a camp, runs back bottom, tries it again, clears another camp, runs back bottom, but it wasn't like they traded it for any sort of objective. While there's been a pretty sizable opening up of the CS leads between the top laners, we talked about how yeah, that tower going down initially for Schalke probably looked really good and felt really good, but once the wave was so far forward, it is relatively dangerous for Odo to kind of overreach for those minions, so you can see that he's had to sacrifice them in the exchange.
Yeah, and it's not just Odo, right? Dreams and Innaxe are very strong when they can kind of have that BP front line, but if a Sejuani comes from behind, if they can't set up a good Unbreakable, we saw that they can be exposed. Now, Dreams was fortunate enough to get away in 2 potentially deadly situations, but this is a comp where you do have to be very careful about overextending. Nukeduck may finally get to fight somebody here in the mid lane.
It's not really his job to fight someone. His job is to deny someone from fighting him. Does have the proto belt completed though, so
that's what I was gonna say. I was kind of expecting Cinderhulk item.
No, it's the Doimbe build.
Yeah.
He's proto belt on Nautilus, helps with his wave clear because you can proto belt and then use the W and pretty much clear the entire wave.
That's the saddest use of proto belt, by the way. When you say proto belt, I'm like helps with his all-in potential. You're like, no.
Helps to get the
helps
flank.
him push it once every 40 seconds to delete a creep wave. Like, all right. But here we are. Checking in on the mid lane. Of course, still a 1k gold advantage for OG. As you said, initially, I was thinking it looked pretty good for Schalke, but the wave state, as well as that pressure on the bottom side, does mean things are in OG's favor. And they're now set up for the second Drake, the Cloud Drake, so we will either have the Ocean Rift or the Mountain Rift. But Schalke look ready to contest this one.
Both top laners have TP.
Come down, trying to make a bit more space. Xerxe's taken a decent amount of damage, but of course can't heal up off the red buff. Upset here as well.
Should note that Alphari is first to rotation here.
Flying Drake through a nice buffer to try to get another one. Lurox gonna flash out to safety. They're desperately trying to clear this one out, but Abbedagge going down to a bit of damage. Odoamne on the front line. Alphari's in the back line. Nukeduck's now in trouble. He's gonna get locked up and taken out. A solid first blood from the side of Schalke.
Yeah, really well executed from Schalke. We'll get a look at the replay there, and they have numbers advantage to reposition onto the mid lane wave.
Excellent setup too. Solid pushing composition. Well, right as I say that, the Infernum swaps over. But that was, of course, the latest first blood of the split. So,
of course it happened in Origen. Classic. Okay, getting a look at this, you called it. It's the fact that Xerxe uses his headbutt, but Lurox is actually just there to trap the Sejuani and the Tristana basically into a bunch of damage. And then Xerxe doesn't have the health to be the frontline tank, so you essentially had 2 of your big tanks, your Nautilus and your Sejuani, get blasted without any ability for follow-up because Upset couldn't reach the back line.
And that's one of the things that I do really love about kind of the Syndra as well. It's really easy for her to throw damage from just kind of that safe distance in those tank fights, whereas...
I mean, if you think about Jarvan as like a basketball hoop and Syndra as like
Oh,
the
that's
basketball, she's just dunking them down. Why don't we have a Syndra basketball skin?
That's excellent. Why does Darius have a I guess only for the dunk. I don't know. I still don't. It doesn't really 100%.
Why does Ivern have
That's
a
a
basketball
much
skin?
better question. All right, here we are. OG may have lost the fight, but in OG fashion, they're still, I feel like, winning across the map as they will manage to grab something else. Not too concerned about the Cloud Drake.
It's because I got first reset to rotate here and have what we call a tempo lead to get to the Herald first, while Schalke repositioned onto the mid lane. So didn't catch it into the replay, but that's why Schalke would be delayed there.
Right at this moment, feels like everything's going fine. Much more of a balanced game state. Yeah, I was like, I had a strong opinion, and then I forgot. I'm not gonna lie to you, I forgot what it was. I was like, going fine. Not for Lurox, however. Luckily, Flag and Drag is a creative skill. It will not save him. The ult comes over the wall. The Proto Boat will follow, and that one's not for creeps. Nukeduck gets the kill.
And really well chain CC'd right there. Lurox ran into the Nautilus, then ran into the Sejuani ultimate, then ran back into a Nautilus. Meanwhile, Upset was just poking him.
And everything else seems to be getting a little bit better.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. They just killed someone.
It's very true. And I'm kind of curious to see how Schalke's strategy of building every Grievous Wound items in the game works out for them. I expect Morel and Omicron at some point from Abbedagge, as Odoamne has the Bramble Vest, and we do have the Executioner's Calling on the bot side for Innaxe. It's a lot to commit, but of course there's a Yuumi and an Aatrox. And I think
this is actually, the more that I look at the composition, the more that I actually just feel bad for Abbedagge. This just must be the most unfun game for him to play.
yeah,
He felt like probably like really powerful with this Syndra pick initially. He's like, I'm gonna get to kill people, I get to play Syndra, this is gonna be amazing. And then it's like tank, 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 Yuumi, tank.
And the thing
He
is,
has no
too,
clear target.
it's like he's got a Braum, and that's like, oh, great, Upset can't hurt you. I'm like, but as we get to the late game, the cat strapped to a demon is scary, is terrifying. We've seen what Aatrox Yuumi can do, and Executioner's Calling, yeah, you're reducing the healing by 50%, but the damage is still there. And so while Upset currently has his pocket support, I would be a bit more scared as we move into mid-late game team fights, and Alphari gets that cat.
Yeah, Yuumi, of course, excels. I mean, what you're hinting at is Yuumi really excels when champions that can get into the backline allow her to be super obnoxious with her ult and then make bruiser champions or even someone like Sejuani virtually unkillable.
Of course, Sejuani, one of the biggest benefits or benefactors of the Immolate item. Cinderhulk in general, I feel like one of the strongest, maybe not as much raw stats as something like Sunfire Cave, but given that it synergizes well and gives you additional bonus health and then damage that also scales on bonus health, it's pretty feels good itemization choice. Top lane will not be contested, but of course OG getting their second Herald, or their first Herald of the game, the second Herald overall. So late that they will not get tower plates.
Oh, no. Disaster.
Abbedagge, though, definitely shouldn't be here. Well played by the side of OG, trying to buy a bit more space.
Oh, no.
Flash out from Abbedagge.
Yeah, manages to get to safety using the cleanse and the flash there. Unfortunately for Origen, Destiny's ultimate couldn't connect for any sort of follow-up there to lock her down. And Shelly, I don't think is going to get a good charge on this tower. Oh, no, she'll get it. Okay, Nukeduck zoning for it.
If Abbedagge steps forward, maybe. But Innaxe is setting up. Tower's going to connect with the Calibrum as well, so he could fall off with CC if he wanted to. And the Shelly charge is denied. Poor girl. Proskar, and that was our last point of pressure. That was the point where if someone doesn't break the tower, that we might be stalled out a little bit.
We knew what we were in for.
We knew, yeah. It's story time.
Yay!
All right, guys, here's the deal. Schalke were bad. We were all there. We saw it happen. 7 years, et cetera, et cetera. But they've been getting better. And I'm not one to build up false hope. If Schalke were bottom of the barrel, I wouldn't be telling you anything otherwise. But I do think that this team has been improving. Going toe-to-toe with Origen might just be enough to change more people's minds. We're going to have to see at the end of this play. Xerxe, we'll just run away. Never mind.
That's good story time.
Thank you.
I've appreciated the picture book visuals, as Schalke have more team members over here because you can see Nukeduck, thank you observers, does have teleport, but Origen probably feel perfectly fine trading some damage, is what we'll call it, for a second Drake, third Drake technically, second for Schalke.
Oh, Destiny now in trouble. The cat's out of the bag and right into the grave. Innaxe with a quick pickup. Meanwhile, Nukeduck is still hitting that tower.
I think he's gonna get it though.
Yeah. Found a new purpose for the 200 years t-shirt. Finally knocks that one down. 21-22. Nukeduck now running This game has become very scattered very quickly as Nukeduck now has to
You
retreat.
laugh, but he's got the proto belt. Look at how far it got him.
He's gonna zoom.
Oh.
The flash, the hook.
Look at the moves.
Thank you, audience, for your hoots and hollers, as this has been. It has been a calculated game. Yes, thank you. But yeah, not too explosive yet. It feels like both. I'm surprised actually at how cautious Origen have been. They literally have almost every go button in the game, and they've used them exclusively to tell people to get away from towers.
But they're like, they may have the trigger, but the bullet's not ready, and that would be little Tristana right now. So yeah, they can pull it, but they're just going to be firing blanks until Tristana has another item.
It's war in the 1800s. He's loading.
They really have to like, they get the broom out.
Yeah, like 30 seconds. It's a rainy day. Shot's not ready yet. You gotta wait. You gotta buy time.
It's probably just, it's gonna be a little bit for
It's gonna
Origen.
be a little while.
But can I
Don't
say
pressure
something
him.
nice? I do perform well under pressure. What can I say about Schalke? Let me look at him. Phil for me.
Trinity Force coming in now for Odoamne, which
Good man.
is the biggest Odoamne move I've ever seen, because building entirely tank is for chumps, folks. Unless you're duo queuing with a friend who has mechanics and you don't. Then you build tank and you know your place in the relationship. That's all I'm saying. Otherwise, build the Trinity Force. Have fun with it.
I mean, now you have a situation where after that Trinity comes in for Poppy, like, okay, hear me out. What if Schalke
Yes.
press R on upset with Abbedagge, and then Poppy kicks all of the tanks away and just flies in there and they kill upset? And then if upset's dead, what do Origen do?
Pray that Alphari can get something done. But I like the strategy. I'm generally a big fan of pushing R when R is a button that is not a skill shot. I think it works out very nicely.
And I like that you know your limitations.
Syndra, when she first came out, I thought I was really good at her because I could one-shot someone, and then she got nerfed like 6 patches in a row, and I very quickly realized, no, she was just imbalanced.
I mean, the nice thing is that Schalke technically do have, I don't know if I can even make that statement. I was going to say more damage threats, but Alphari exists.
Like, okay, let's like talk about all the theoretical outputs of these compositions.
Nukeduck has an hourglass.
It's Pick City. You got a Jarvan, you got a Syndra.
What are you going to pick? You don't want any of those.
It's true.
You don't want a Nautilus. You don't want a Sejuani. It'll take 200 years of experience just to pick it.
I love you.
That wasn't even funny.
Doesn't matter. That's the secret to humor. You just need someone to stand next to you and laugh.
I appreciate you, audience. Thank you for stroking the ego. Yeah, ego stroke.
Yay! Filling. What is it? Deficio always used to do this in downtime when he didn't have anything to say. He'd just talk about caster mechanics. He used to just like spoil it. He's like, guys, when you're out of things to talk
We've
about.
already been doing that. I asked you to fill. You know what he also used to do? I got some bottles on the table.
Oh, no. That's an inside joke. Okay. All right.
Give me the picture-in-picture of Deficio's backstage.
Yeah.
You heard that one?
I think he's in Denmark this week, sadly. All right. It's match of the week tomorrow, game 4. Finn versus Alphari. You'll remember a 70 CS deficit for Finn last time they played.
But hold on, before we move on to that, I still gotta, like, I promise, the game will get exciting. It will come to a point where there will be massive explosions and bloodshed. We will have team fights. It's just right now there's a gentleman's handshake that says, Tristana's not ready, Aphelios isn't ready. Like, guys, let's just chill for a minute until we absolutely have to. But once those guys are ready, I promise this will be an amazing, bloodthirsty, explosive, exciting, what is that Lady Gaga meme? Like, inspiring, beautiful, amazing game.
Oh, wow. Oh, but we might already have an inspiring game as Origen have decided that it's time for one of the oldest tricks of the book. Never mind, he's clearing a ward. I saw Sejuani on Baron.
You thought they were going to two-man it with Sejuani Yuumi?
They wouldn't die. It would take 200 years, whatever. Fine, we've made that joke too many times, whatever, fine. But they would have done it eventually.
They could actually do it. That is something important to bring up now that they have the control ward on it, is because you have Tristana and Sej, especially if Yuumi is there, you could two-man it.
True. Okay, pushing a little bit further. This is, for Oscar, the equivalent of, I know you're not a huge anime buff, but one of the big tropes is the Dragon Ball Z charging episodes where they just kind of go,
I watched Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, okay, well, there you go. So we're in the charging episode. We're coming to a Supreme. Who will win, Goku or Cell? Who's Goku and Cell? I don't know, but the Ocean Drake falling in favor of Origen. And that's going to be solid. A bit more sustained, a bit more healing. Both teams kind of even in the race towards the soul, which could have been a decently deciding factor as we get later into the game. But I feel like Schalke have a much stronger core right now, as Innaxe will just shred the wave, and they're just going to walk right up. Are they just going to go for it?
That's bold.
I like it! No more charging! Let's go, it's fight time. OG.
Here comes Alphari. They got the TP. Schalke could actually just disengage. They got what they wanted.
Walk away from this one, but the hook does manage to go in. Lurox has been caught out. Nukeduck in the front line. Poppy bashes him into the wall, and now the Lost Chapter comes out. Innaxe firing free from the backside of the map. Upset still dealing so much damage, though. The resets are going to start to come in quickly. Upset's going to find the reset, and they can reset the fight, but he gets knocked out. Beautiful from Odoamne going forward. That's the pick. Nukeduck in trouble. Knocked into the wall. That's what you like to see. Upset now running for his life. Will manage to make it out to safety, but Schalke managed to come out on top. That's a 1-for-0 exchange. They set their sights back on the mid lane.
Again, it felt like what they initially wanted is they actually just wanted to get the TP out of Alphari, and then they could safely disengage from it, because obviously Odo doesn't have his, and it was going to be super obnoxious to deal with the fact that Alphari was creating a pressure point cross-map. But now that Schalke won that fight, pick up some extra gold on Innaxe, reset, I actually think they feel much more confident to run it back and try it again.
And this is huge, because Innaxe has flash, Abbedagge has flash, Odoamne has flash. Alphari, Xerxe, Nukeduck, no flashes. Yes, they're tanky, but the fact that OG didn't get really any tangible advantage out of that fight is massive for the fight to come.
Yeah, they actually just lost their teleport. Now, the key thing, though, for Origen is that they still technically have flash on Upset, and we talked about how Innaxe was waiting for the gold on the Hurricane. He's now got that in his inventory. Upset also now has the 2 attack speed seal items, the Infinity Edge and the QSS, so we talked about that gentleman's agreement, the handshake. The handshake is over. Someone's going to get sucker punched.
Yeah, sadly for Upset, though, does not have really any armor penetration at this point, so we'll have a hard time dealing with Odoamne if the fight goes sideways again.
Oh, no. One of 20 teleports. Origen are like, it's fine. Alphari lost his. Run Nukeduck down there.
Good setup. And sadly for Odoamne, even with a Trinity Force just about completed, or completed, not sure, scoreboard's missing, I don't think he's going to just be able to kill the Nautilus.
It's now about how Schalke can kind of solve this next problem, where someone would need to cut away from the herd to help Odo attack if it's going to be Nukeduck who is pushing or creating this pressure point down here. I guess the nice thing is that maybe you decide, let the Nautilus push. He doesn't push very quickly. Like, once he gets to a tower. He can actually push minion waves pretty quickly,
yeah.
But takes him a very long time to shove something down, so they could just say, while Nukeduck is down there, let's actually hunt for a fight, see if we can force the TP or make a pick.
Trying to find a pick on his Xerxe 4 now, locking him up. Xerxe not going to be able to dash out of that one. He will be taken out. Origen are going to be without a jungler, and Schalke have prime access to the pit. Odoamne running in. Upset's ult is now gone. This is the perfect timing. OG will have perfect information, but there's no way they can take this one without forcing a fight.
Yeah, and that's the key thing. It's the fact that they have to force the fight, and they're doing it without their Sejuani. And Nukeduck is their other big primary engage tool, and he is so far, like, he's just cresting mid lane. He might not be there in time.
Alphari stepping forward, trying to get something done, but the knockback is there, and that's why you pick the Poppy. Odoamne zoning everyone away from the pit. Lurox setting his sights on the Baron. This one will go down in favor of Schalke. And they're going to be able to walk away as well. Upset taking a lot of damage, but Schalke walk away unscathed with the Baron in hand.
And there's nothing that Origen can actually grab hold of. They just want to delay these backs and try to kill some of these Barons.
Upset is very powerful. Good bit of information, but the turret's set up in the brush. They cannot afford to step forward there. Upset's going to take a bit of damage.
Duck.
Duck waiting, but Odoamne can just deny entrance to the fight, and the towers being laid down here just stop them from pushing too far forward. Look at how much damage Upset takes just trying to walk into the enemy team. And Frost, this is exactly what you talked about. How do they actually get on top of this team when they're set up well?
I just think it's a really weird comp. Like, Origen have this tendency where they like to draft really long range compositions. If you kind of look back over their drafts, not just in 2020, but also back in 2019, they loved running like long range, keep you at a distance poke. And this is like almost the complete opposite of it outside of the Tristana. So I was really curious what their plan was going to be, and maybe if Xerxe is there, like, he's the secret ingredient because you do have that long range initiation, and maybe that would be enough. But right now, like, yeah, I agree. Between the disengage of Poppy ultimate, of Scatter the Weak, of Braum throwing out Qs, even his ultimate, it is really difficult for Origen to get anywhere near Schalke. Like, Schalke are basically Origening the Origins. Can't touch us. They're just...
Wow, I mean, which, remember, coming 2 weeks ago, that would have been impossible. And still, I think, fair to say improbable when we came to this matchup. Origen were expected to be heavy favorites. We talked about using this as kind of the litmus test, trying to figure out exactly where OG were. So far, it's slow, it's standard, it's what we've known from Origen, but that might not be enough. Schalke are going to grab this next Dragon uncontested, move up to Soul Point, and Ocean Soul for this team would make it pretty impossible for OG to find anything else. OG are just honestly forced to move where Schalke go. Odoamne is not going to be able to walk away quite too easily from that one, but the rest of the team is on the way. Odo, though, doesn't really have any major cooldown to burn in that exchange except for the ultimate.
You are starting to get the armor penetration now out of Upset. Oh, I'll hold it.
Here we go. Alphari coming over the wall. Odoamne can try to buy a little space for the team. Knocks him back in. Lurox goes in. That's a solid combo to kick things off. Abbedagge throwing down the damage, but the 80 carry is nowhere to be seen. Depth charge coming out. Abbedagge is going to go golden. Gets himself away from that one. Lurox is going to have to give his life in the play, but everyone else walks away safely. And sadly, Innaxe not being in the area really cost Schalke a lot in that exchange.
Yeah, and finally, Schalke have a poor positioning when they try to attack Origen, and Upset is actually able to get on the side of them and deal out that damage. So when the Tristana can touch you, because again, she now has access to armor penetration, not the completed item, but the component of it, she can start to shred through some of these tanks, and it feels much better to fight front to back.
Knockback is there. Felio Assault goes wide, does not connect. OG are now trying to disengage. And we have to remember that OG's comp with the Aatrox ultimate as well as the Tristana jump reset, once you start to win a fight, you're very likely to continue winning the fight. So good that Schalke are kind of rebuffing, getting everyone back together, knowing when they need to give up and not give a single edge here.
And it feels like the next big thing for Schalke is probably going to be over one of these monster objectives. You already talked about how they're on Soul Point. The Baron, of course, is going to spawn before them. And that's kind of the thing with tank metas is it feels like because you don't have the same like assassination potential running around and people aren't playing like 1-3-1s, that a lot of the moving of the chains or the acceleration of games comes down to these big monster objective team fights. As we take another look at this one, we talked about how Schalke just didn't have the they didn't have the necessary cooldowns they want. Odo technically got caught, so he had to commit. He does walk out of it, but it means that no one is zoning away Upset, and Upset can then start really picking Schalke apart.
And Upset's the guy you got to watch there, Frosco. And like we've said it the entire game, but when you look back at that play, you can see Odoamne goes in to 3 people, takes 0 damage. Upset rears his head in the fight, and suddenly Odo's on the verge of death. And it's a similar story for Lurox. So the damage threats are exclusively Upset. He should be impossible to kill, but to keep it simple, kill Upset, win the fight.
Speaking of being impossible to kill, I do want to check in on itemization, because now we've got basically 3 items across the board, particularly Nukeduck. He's got Azania's Hourglass, and he has the Stone Plate. Like, speaking of unkillable, between his Titan's Wrath, using the Hourglass, and then rocking the Stone Plate, Nukeduck can tank for years. And as long as Upset's actually in a position to follow up on what that gives him, that's a really good sign for Origen fans.
Schalke are now stepping forward, but have to be careful. The flank is always a threat. Xerxe stepping in. Lurox going to get caught out. Dreams maybe going a little bit too far forward. Innaxe gets a solid ultimate, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. A lot of damage coming in here from the Aphelios. But here's the Nightmare State. The Demon Cat going in. Ulti now used to try to force back.
Poppy's got ult.
Nukeduck can come in here on the backside, but I don't think this is a good position.
He doesn't have ult.
Lurox can move in. He's just going to use the ultimate, deny the wall. No chance for Nukeduck to escape. He has to flash out to safety. Dream's going to go in, but Alphari is behind as well. If they split it all here, they will get taken down. Abbedagge in the front line now. Upset gets free access. He's going to get the reset. He's going to be able to bounce through, and now is the time for OG. 1-2 for Origen. Looking for the third as Upset goes over the wall on the chase. Has the flash as well. How aggressive does he want to get? Can't walk face first into the Calibrum. Will most likely get shredded in 1v1 if he gets into melee range with the Poppy. Denying the entry. Schalke will walk away, but a clean fight in favor of OG.
Yeah, Nukeduck is going to go exactly where he pleases. Deep teleport flank right there, but has the confidence to do so. We talked about his itemization. Didn't even have to use the Hourglass there, but so tanky, can walk into the middle of so many people. That said, what does it gain, Origen? It technically gives them a bit of better positioning on this Baron that's about to spawn in 20 seconds. So we take another look at this fight.
When does Nukeduck decide to TP? This is such an interesting play.
I mean, you can see that...
Oh, hold that thought. Upset's going in. Lurox might just be going down. Won't find the reset quite yet. Odoamne going to take the Xerxe highway right out of there, but the stun goes in. That's going to be more than enough. No, Odoamne, a clean hook from the back line. Nukeduck from downtown makes that one happen.
And he really had to, because otherwise Origen would have expended so many key ultimates that they wouldn't have been able to immediately turn on the Baron. So yeah, they don't kill the jungler, but at least feels decently well that they got someone.
Without Odoamne to disrupt some of the dashes that allow them access to the backline, it's going to be very easy to kill Innaxe in this fight.
And Origen probably feel a lot of pressure that they have to force this Baron now because they can't wait until the Drake is up because they don't want to trade for Soul.
They're going opportunity to take this one down. 15 seconds left on the Drake. Schalke going to get priority over that area of the map. We'll be fighting into the Baron buff, however, on the side of Origen. It's just well played by Origen to get that one.
I mean, unfortunately, normally, if there weren't as many tanks as there were, getting first position here feels better, but because you can't really make picks, it doesn't mean as much as they just walk in.
Keeping eye on the souls. Xerxe going in. Good bit of information. Who's going to win the smite fight? No, Schalke going to grab that one in the way. Lurox, but still, what is it going to cost him? Innaxe flashing backwards into Alphari. Not what he wanted, but he manages to get the root. How much more time can he buy? Maybe not enough. Innaxe is still alive. Dunked down. What else can he get done? Innaxe is still alive. I can't believe it, but it is too little, too late. The shutdown comes through. Xerxe with a bit of vengeance.
And now it's going to be Lurox that is just chased down. Such a massive win for Origen. Yeah, Schalke got the soul, but it was the fact that they Schalke were split there. Jarvan stays on the Drake to secure the soul. The rest of his team gets flanked by Alphari. I believe he got right into that backline there as we get a look at this replay. Yeah, Alphari walks over the ward, so they're aware, or at least should be aware. Maybe things got muddled into the comms and they just lost track of where he was, but Alphari just lands on top of people.
Yeah, and exactly the two members he needs to land on top of. We said, OG need to find access to the back line. Well, good old-fashioned flank is going to be more than enough here. Innaxe surviving so much longer than I expected him to, as Alphari is the only damage threat in this fight, but the second Alphari sets his sights on Aphelios, he just instantly drops.
Still feels like in a situation, though, because Innaxe is putting out so much damage on Aphelios that it's still not over for Schalke. We've had so many games where, you know, on 10.3 at this point, you'd be like, yeah, the game's probably over. It's going to be pretty close and shut here, but close and shut, open and shut?
Close and shut, open and shut.
Whoa. What a day.
We're just gonna leave that one as is.
It's been a long game.
There you go. TP comes in for upset.
The main point, Schalke could technically still win here.
Yeah, because it's a 4K gold deficit, and that is difficult to deal with, but they do have Ocean Soul, and the Baron buff is only going to last for another minute. So as long as they don't make a catastrophic mistake in the next 60 seconds...
Yeah, just survive. Fight for Elder.
Because Ocean Drake Poppy sounds like a nightmare.
I was like, I'm not here to survive, I'm here to kill.
Ooh, but sadly, Upset is also here to kill, and he does a lot more damage than Odoamne. Still going. Odoamne, he's not unkillable, though. Xerxe will finally find that one. Good bit of damage comes in from Innaxe, poking away at Upset. Can try to shred over the wall. That's the onslaught. Alphari going to be somewhat in trouble. Has time, though. Destiny just keeps healing everyone up. Going to flash backwards. Lurox trapped in his own cataclysm, but he uses the wall to help. Upset steps forward. Without the Yuumi attached, Upset is very vulnerable now, but Schalke do not feel confident enough to step forward. Innaxe still wants to get something done.
Upset's doing a really good job keeping track of the enemy cooldowns. Like, Jarvan used his EQ to drag out of his Cataclysm, so it's actually totally fine for Upset to hop forward there. And just watch Upset in teamfights. When he does decide to step forward, it's usually after he sees the Scout of the Week or the EQ go down.
Dream's taking a lot of damage here. Upset, as you mentioned, staying back, just getting a bit of pocket healing there from the Yuumi. Swapping back and forth between the two carries. Yuumi trying to keep everybody healthy. Lurox continuously forced to flag and drag out. That will be a single inhibitor now given up. Odoamne, 6 seconds left on the cooldown. You have to expect that Schalke might have been looking for a teleport flank there.
Yeah, potentially still a deep teleport if Schalke decide to chase. But because they don't maintain vision, there's no reason for Odo. He TP'd to that control ward that's sitting on the mid-brush.
In this fight, starts off as what looks like a, kind of a case study on why you should play tanks at 10.4. But then as the Lord Dominic starts to tick away here, Frostguard, we can see that it's not what it once was.
Replays are going to be really risky on this patch because they can actually just go forever.
We cut to the highlight bits, you know? Don't need the whole story. Just need the clickbait headline.
The BuzzFeed
the BuzzFeed replay. Just the kill. No context, just the death animation. And here, the thing that concerns me for the side of Schalke is that Innaxe doesn't actually have any armor penetration. He's opted for Death Stance, which is going to be fantastic, obviously.
Oh, but he's got so many people flying on top of him.
Yeah, but also now he's just not going to be able to kill so many of the tanks. And Upset, on the other hand, is nigh impossible to jump on. Has swapped out, I think, his Static Shiv for a Phantom Dancer. That's how far ahead he is. And just has all the armor shred with the Dominics as well, so.
Yeah, and naturally having access to the Lifeline passive from the Phantom Dancer as opposed to the Energize passive from the Static Shiv that he formerly had, it also means that it's that much harder to kill Upset because you can survive a lot of that burst damage that would potentially come out. So I don't know. This is a scenario where both ADCs have the potential to do it. I feel like it's going to come down to execution, and we actually really haven't gotten a super even fight. A lot of these fights have been quite lopsided, either going Schalke's favor or Origen's favor, where someone gets into a backline because of a deep teleport flank. Like, we actually haven't seen them set a line of scrimmage and everyone just like eyeball each other and just slowly move at each other.
It comes full circuit back to the musket revelation. The muskets are loaded. They're going to line up. They're going to shoot each other like gentlemen.
I feel like the previous patches were like European football, where it was like finesse and speed.
Constant action.
Yeah.
And now we're in American football. We take turns. We go one at a time.
We just run into each other, reset, do it again.
It's turn-based rugby for those confused.
Union or league?
There you go. I don't know.
It's union.
It's union. Okay,
yeah,
there you go.
because that's like the big muscly one where leagues like has set downs.
Okay.
I'm just trying to flex my knowledge.
Yeah, I see. You're like, I'm European, look at me. I'm like, okay. Fair.
Please accept me.
Please accept me. I don't want to go back. All right. Well, interesting here. This is the point where we get to talk a little bit about Aphelios in terms of preferred guns. This gun, obviously, pretty solid in team fights because you get both the sniper turret, the sniper, and the ability to shred through as the fight goes on. But it's going to be very awkward if he ends up with the lifesteal gun at any moment. Severum, while very good close combat, may not be good in this situation. Have to keep our eyes on it. Final chapter now coming out. TP coming in a little bit too late, though. Innaxe throwing in the ultimate. It'll be a good bit of damage, but not quite one of the ideal ones. A lot of cooldowns burned. The stuns now coming in. Alphari in trouble. GA now proc, but that's Odoamne's ultimate used.
There's
Severum coming out. Body blocking on the hook from the gun turret. Clean play there coming in from Innaxe. Upset, though. Still the threat that you have to keep your eyes on. Alphari just the mini-boss. Leap forward. Upset. That's a lot of confidence. The ulti coming through, but maybe not enough. Flag and drag forward. Lurox getting the fight re-kicked off. Xerxe's going to go down. That's the reset that Schalke need. That's the shutdown. Should give them more access, but Lurox might be first if Upset gets the reset. But now, Innaxe, he's overstayed. That's not what they need, but Nukeduck, no, still going in, and this is what you want. This is a little bit of classic. Oh, it may not be the way that OG want to win a game, but it's one that's going to work.
He's not going to have... Does he have enough minions?
The backs are coming in. He can reset the auto attack animation with the E. The ulti coming out for a little bit of extra AD. I don't think Abbedagge can stop him. Backdoor now coming in and Upset in the meanwhile, shredding the rest of the team. Alphari wants to do it. Oh, here comes Innaxe. He's denied it. Innaxe, the hero play, the shutdown they needed, an immediate 1,000 gold, and now it's on Upset, chasing down. And this is not the game that any of us expected. Maybe the diehard Schalke fans, but I guarantee nobody else. This is tense.
Okay, that said, Schalke are going to have more people onto the map first. They do need to now respect the fact that it is an open nexus, and you're still dealing with multiple teleports, not just from Nukeduck, but reminder, Upset has teleport. If he gets into that base, he will shred that nexus so quickly. So there's still multiple ways that Origen can attack this game, but because Schalke have more members out on the map first, they're going to get initial access here to the Elder Drake.
Jungle race, ulti used by Innaxe, but Abbedagge is here as well. Upset has to be careful. Xerxe, this is a chance for a hero moment. The flash, the smite are available. J4's in the way in. They're trying to disengage the chapter. Innaxe gets steps forward, but Innaxe, the body block from Dreams is there. It's everything that they need, but now Upset coming over the wall. Innaxe getting chunked so incredibly low. Schalke, if they keep pushing forward this one, they risk the 50-50. I don't know if it's a risk they can afford to take. Upset at any moment can leap over the wall. They're trying to buy a bit more time. Poppy trying to knock him out, and he will. Odoamne, that was clutch. That's exactly what they needed, and that's Elder for Schalke. Hammer home into the wall. Nukeduck next on the list. Upset, have to keep your eyes there. There's no wards in the base. Upset, can he teleport in and take anything else? But no, Schalke just see the path for victory laid out before them.
And Dracos, you and I were excited. We wanted to see Odoamne versus Alphari, but we wanted a carry versus carry matchup. The Poppy came out, you were disappointed, but this Poppy is paying off in spades for Schalke right now. That was a huge ultimate from Odo.
Just because Poppy's not a carry doesn't mean she can't carry a game. Odo was clutch. But now, one more chance for Xerxe. Take two, buddy. Can you find the steal? Lurox coming over the wall.
Does have Blast Cone.
Upset still a massive threat. Innaxe feeling very confident to step forward there. But no vision. The TP now coming in. It's all or nothing. Upset.
Oh!
Gonna go down.
Upset! He teleported!
Xerxe gets it! Mercurial Scimitar for extra movement speed. It's all eyes on Upset. I don't care what else is happening on your screen. I'm not going to talk about it because Upset is pushing for the base. He's pushing for the win, and that's going to be it. OG may not be happy with it. It might not be clean. It might not be calculated, but it's a win, and in the LEC, we take those.
I don't know if it would have mattered, but Obviously, small detail that Xerxe was also able to get to the Baron to deny the empowered recalls. Maybe it wouldn't have mattered even if he had gotten it, that Origen would have just immediately jumped on them to try to deny them from back. But we talked about the multiple teleports that Origen had access to, the fact that Tristana had TP, saw his moment and took it.
That was so disappointing for Origen, or for Schalke. Congrats to Origen.
Oh, losing that way as Schalke, really, that's a bitter one.
It's so weird because this game I got Vizicachi flashbacks, you know, watching the beautiful ultimates coming from Odoamne on that Poppy. I'm getting Vitality flashbacks, watching an 80 carry backdoor the base with TP. It's a nostalgic game, but for Schalke, I feel like we got to see everything we wanted to see. They're stepping up, they're looking better. I will now not go into nearly as many games with Schalke looking like the underdog as we move further into the week. For now, though, Kia player of the game at LEC on Twitter, Alphari, Nukeduck, or Upset. Guys, there's actually one choice. Because it's either the Smite